So let's talk to you for a second. If you're the kind of person who not only reads about, functional health and nervous system regulation, but you could probably teach a class on setting boundaries.
Right. You're the one your friends come to for advice.
Exactly.
Yep.
You are smart, you're successful, you're leading the charge in your field, and, intellectually exactly what sustainable health should look like.
But here's the paradox, and it's really why we need to talk about this. Despite all that knowledge, you are likely just running on fumes. There's this constant sort of painful friction between what you know about your own limits and the reality of what your calendar actually looks like day to day.
And that's the question, isn't it? Why does this high-functioning, incredibly intelligent self always seem to choose the long, exhausting route when the direct path to peace is, it's right there.
It's right there.
That friction, that systemic exhaustion. That's what we are digging into today. We're doing a deep dive into an essay called Emotional Physics, the Hidden Setting Running Your Life.
And this is from the functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner Mark Carlson on his Health Under Control Substack, which you might see as HUC.
Right. And our mission today is to really show you the mechanical reason for this internal fight.
Because it's not a failure of character, it's not about willpower, it's a deeply ingrained navigation constraint. It's like a piece of old architecture that's just overriding your current brilliant intellect.
Carlson sets the scene so perfectly with this idea he calls the morning contradiction.
Oh, this is so good.
You know it. You might be reviewing notes, maybe even notes you wrote about how vital rest is, why you need to say no. And for a minute, you feel completely aligned with this wise version of yourself.
You're centered. You're clear. And then you toggle over to your digital calendar, and it is just packed. Back-to-back demands, a client call crammed into what should be your lunch, a workout that you're, guiltily squeezing in at 8 p.m.
And that alignment you felt 2 seconds ago, it's just gone.
Vanished.
Yeah.
And you feel that familiar somatic friction.
That's the word for it, that tight chest, the little spike of anxiety, just from looking at a screen.
And what's the go-to response? It's not, I should cancel that meeting. It's, okay, I'll just push through this week. It'll calm down next week.
Always next week.
Right. And that response, that's the symptom. That's the key to understanding the mechanism underneath.
So let's unpack that mechanism. Carlson uses this really powerful analogy of an internal GPS.
Yeah. Think of your intellectual self, the part of you that studies all the strategies and reads the books. That's the brilliant navigator. That's the GPS. It can calculate the most efficient route to where you want to go.
And the destination's usually something like peace or security or just sustainable energy.
Exactly. But here is the critical point. The GPS is calculating the route based on these deep, often unconscious settings. It's not the ultimate driver. It's just following constraints that were toggled on probably years ago.
During childhood, formative experiences, that kind of thing.
Precisely. So when your brilliant GPS tries to map the shortest distance to, say, an hour of free space in my schedule, it runs that route against these invisible toggles.
And he identifies a few key ones, right? The big ones for high achievers.
Yeah, there are 3 that are almost always running the show. The first is avoid conflict.
A big one.
Huge. Then avoid disappointing people.
Oh, that's the one that gets so many of us.
And the third is avoid vulnerability. And the key is they're all sort of hardwired to the on-end position.
So let's play that out. The destination is peace. The direct route is cancel the non-essential meeting. Simple.
The most energy-efficient path. But the system instantly flags it. Warning. Canceling this meeting violates the avoid disappointing people setting.
And the whole system just goes.
Recalculating. Instantly. It has to route you around that forbidden feeling of letting someone down. So it maps the exhausting scenic route.
Which is keep the meeting, squeeze the workout in, sacrifice your lunch, and promise yourself you'll rest later.
The system will prioritize that hidden safety cutting no matter the energy cost. It's staggering.
So the biggest takeaway for you listening to this is that your exhaustion is not proof that you have low willpower.
Not at all. It is proof that you are systematically running out of gas because your internal GPS is being forced to take the scenic route around very simple, unavoidable emotions.
Like guilt or friction or rejection. Things that have been marked deep down as do not enter.
And here's where it gets even more complex. We rarely admit, even to ourselves, oh, I'm taking this long way around because I'm scared of how it'll feel if someone's frustrated with me.
No, we'd never say that.
We have to rationalize the detour, and that's where what Carlson calls the identity rule comes in.
Okay, the identity rule.
Yeah.
This is the complex logic, the conscious story the intellect builds to justify the constraint.
And to hide the simple fear. It gives you a moral reason, or a professional one, for your emotional aversion. It's the brand you wear that explains your success and at the same time justifies why you're so exhausted.
Because it links your behavior to your self-worth.
Absolutely. Let's deconstruct one. Say your identity rule is, I am the reliable one. I don't let people down, ever. That sounds like a virtue, right?
Of course. That's what makes you good at your job.
But if you follow that thread all the way back, what's the simple fear it's protecting?
I'm terrified they'll abandon me if I'm not reliable. Or, my safety depends on being needed.
Exactly. The big, sophisticated rule is just armor protecting that tiny, primal vulnerability.
Or what about the peacekeeper rule? I'm the one who keeps things smooth. I don't cause conflict.
That rule is almost always protecting a very physical truth, which is, I cannot tolerate the immediate bodily sensation of someone being angry at me.
You mean like the heat flushing your face, the tightness?
A whole thing. That feeling is what the system is avoiding, no matter what the long-term cognitive cost is.
We see this one all the time with our audience, too. The identity rule. I'm the always learning professional. I have to stay ahead. I have to enroll in the next training.
Right. And that positive drive, that ambition, is so often just protecting a simple fear. I'm avoiding the feeling of being exposed as a fraud, or feeling helpless with what I already know. The activity behind the course justifies the anxiety.
So this leads us to what is essentially a formula for avoidance.
A core mechanical loop. You have a desired destination, like relief or space.
But taking the direct route triggers the hidden setting. A warning flashes, triggers guilt or rejection.
The body then immediately fires off a body signal. That tight chest, the throat closing up, that drop in your stomach. It's the friction that tells you the direct route is blocked.
And that friction forces the intellect to recalculate. It maps the avoidance route. Push through, rest later, buy the new thing.
It's a closed-loop system. The physical discomfort enforces the old emotional setting, which forces you into these patterns that are just so metabolically expensive.
And this is where we get into the physics of it all, the metabolic cost. Carlson really emphasizes that the body is like the accountant in this scenario. It's the enforcer.
Right. When you get close to the edge of a forbidden emotional state, like you're about to send an email that you know risks disappointing a client, your nervous system deploys discomfort as a kind of transaction fee.
Anticipatory guilt.
Or anxiety or dread. It's deployed now to push you back into compliance with the old setting. And that fee is paid in physiological currency.
So think about what's actually happening in your body every time you override a boundary to keep the peace.
Your breath gets shorter. It rises up into your chest.
Your muscles, especially your neck, your jaw, your hips, they subtly brace. They tighten up, preparing for a threat that's not even real.
That is the physiological cost. That bracing forces your autonomic nervous system into a chronic sympathetic state, fight or flight.
For someone who is constantly taking the scenic route around even minor emotional conflicts,
Yep.
That is just devastatingly expensive.
We're not talking about a conceptual energy drain. This is real. This is chronic, low-grade cortisol. It's a disruption of your gut. It's a steady stream of inflammatory signals, all to avoid feeling rejection for 10 minutes.
Let's go back to that training course example. The direct route to competence is sitting down and integrating what you already know.
Which requires sitting in the ambiguity of what you don't know yet.
And that triggers the forbidden feeling. Helplessness. Inadequacy.
So the nervous system deploys restlessness and dread. That's the transaction fee. The friction is too high. So the intellect immediately substitutes activity for integration. Click and roll.
And the feeling of hope you get from the purchase successfully bypasses the dread. You feel productive, but you're still paying that metabolic fee for avoidance.
This cost is cumulative, and it is absolutely why you hit a ceiling with your health.
Right. You can do all the sophisticated protocols, you can optimize your macros, do your breath work, take the supplements, but if a huge chunk of your energy is being siphoned off to pay these avoidance fees,
your system will never drop its baseline tension. No amount of optimization can outrun a nervous system that is chronically bracing against simple, non-lethal emotions.
the ceiling you're hitting is the limit imposed by those deeply held emotional settings.
Which, of course, brings us to the most important question. How do we update the setting?
The solution, as Carlson lays it out, is not about layering more rules on top. It's about finding the setting and working with the mechanism consciously.
And it starts with a simple experiment. The goal here is just to build tolerance, not to force some huge unsustainable change overnight.
Okay, so step one.
Step one is just clarity. Name the aligned action and the feared feeling, for instance. The aligned action is move that appointment I've been dreading. The feared feeling is guilt or rejection.
Then you have to find the justification. That's step two. Find the identity role. You ask yourself, if I actually did that, what story would I tell myself about who I am?
And you listen for that sentence that just slams the door shut. That would make me selfish. They would think I'm difficult. That's the role.
Then you bring the body into it. Step three, watch the body's signal.
Yeah.
You vividly imagine taking the action hitting send, saying no, and you notice, where does my body tighten?
Is it your throat constricting? A pit in your stomach? Your jaw clenching? That physical friction is the somatic proof that the direct path is marked as unsafe.
And step four is the really core test. Stay with the wave.
This is non-action. You aren't doing the thing yet. You're just allowing the imagined emotional surge, the guilt, the panic to rise up, and you stay with it for a few breaths longer than you normally would.
And you ask the nervous system a simple question. Does this feeling kill me, or does it move?
That's it. If your system registers that you can feel the discomfort of guilt and remain intact without having to recalculate, you're updating the data. You are literally building tolerance for the forbidden feeling.
Only then, after that internal practice, do you move to step five. Take one small external action.
And scale it way down. Move one low-stakes meeting. Add one honest sentence to an email. Decline one tiny, non-crucial request.
And then, this is the most important part. You observe what actually happens versus the catastrophe your body predicted would happen.
And repeating that cycle is how the identity itself begins to shift. You move from, I can't do that, I'm not that kind of person, to,
I've been protecting an old setting that isn't useful anymore. I can choose when to use it and when to switch it off.
So when we connect this back to the bigger picture of first principles health, these hidden emotional settings are absolutely foundational.
They're in the same category as sleep and breath and food.
They are. They're part of the basic architecture that determines your default state of tension. So the real work isn't about adding another layer of self-improvement. It's about finding that exhausting scenic route and consciously switching it off.
Freeing up all that metabolic capacity.
A tremendous amount.
That really is the power of understanding the mechanism beneath it all. So here's a final thought for you to consider as you go through your calendar this week.
How much of your current chronic exhaustion is actually just a sophisticated, very expensive form of protection against a feeling, guilt, rejection, vulnerability that you learned long ago was lethal, but which today would only move?
If this deep dive resonated with you, and you want to keep exploring this architecture of health and human function, you can find more of Mark Carlson's essays on his Substack. That's healthundercontrol.com.
And for services that guide you through putting these concepts into practice, to really unblock these hidden settings, visit unblock.Health. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.